Oh, for fuck's sake. Took your time.
Welcome back, everybody. Today we're discussing Game of Thrones Season 8, Episode 3, The Long Night. Although it probably should have been titled The Dark Night because of how poorly lit the battle was. Ayo! Honestly though, I love battle sequences, and this was very well done. Throughout the video, if you find yourself enjoying this coverage of Game of Thrones, be sure to leave a like, comment, and most importantly, subscribe for more. Let's get into it. This episode was directed by Miguel Sapochnik, who also directed The Gift, Hardhome, Battle of the Bastards, and The Winds of Winter. Overall, I thought this was an awe-inspiring episode that left many more of our heroes alive than I previously thought they would. From the Dothraki Screamers to Jon 1v1ing Blue Eyes White Dragon, this was everything I wanted from this battle, and maybe a little more. Arya, our hero. Alright, let's not get ahead of ourselves. The episode, which has a shocking 82-minute runtime, feels like an epic battle that we truly needed to see. It begins with an extended period of silence in which few characters speak even a single line of dialogue. It follows them through the stronghold, incorporating background noise and chatter to highlight the dreary contemplation silently going on in everyone's mind, while also establishing the geography of the battle so that we have a better understanding of how everything is connected for the siege later on. Suddenly, Melisandre mysteriously wanders from the northernmost part of the forest and ignites the Dothraki blades. A few things I want to discuss here. Firstly, oh my god, that was badass. Second, oh my god, that is horrifying. As soon as they started charging into the abyss, I kind of knew that they were done for. But to see Ghost riding alongside Jorah into battle gave me that little touch of hope. Then the lights started slowly going out. The battle cry from one of the most vicious, unrelenting forces in the world being extinguished as they die out. This sets the tone for the rest of the battle. They're battling a tangible enemy, certainly, but from the ground perspective, they're actually fighting an impossible dark void that consumes everything in its path. When the wall of undead swarmed the front line, I literally thought it was impossible that anyone survived this. I mean, all of our main characters are being demolished by this wave of undead that never halts their advance. It's a miracle that every single character they showed wasn't killed on sight just to show the audience the real risk of this battle. But I really don't have too big of an issue with this. We get to see our favorites live on, so yay. Now, let's talk dragons. It's shortly after this first wave attacking that Dany swoops in and saves the day. Honestly, without her doing this Passover, the constant stream of undead would have never stopped, and certainly everyone that we know would have been dead right now just because of how the whites pile up with numbers. These giant streaks of dragonfire caused enough of a gap to allow people to hold their ground before eventually calling to retreat. In this one step, she saved all of our favorite characters. However, it also caused them to break from their plan, which was waiting for the Night King to show and ambush him, pursuing him together, which, in theory, would have worked, but they didn't calculate the fog of war being used, so either way it was, she made the right play. The reason that she broke formation is because Dany couldn't calculate the emotion of seeing those sworn to her run out and die, similar to how Jon runs for Rickon in the Battle of the Bastards. Also, thank you dragons just for lighting up the battlefield. You're probably the real hero here just for that reason. Ed sadly dies saving Sam, which is an honorable death, and we see Sansa retreat to the crypts, which is hard for her to do, but it's also hard for Tyrion to do as we hear later on. But these are both strong characters being put aside, and to her point, they're strong for other reasons. They aren't fighters. I'm glad that we're getting these scenes between these two characters, though. It makes me really hopeful for what's to come. The gates open, and the bulk of the retreat happens. The soldiers are to man the walls once inside, and Grey Worm keeps his men on the front line to allow everyone else to retreat. This, in combination with Dany losing the Dothraki, means that she has little to no army left. She flew north for Jon's war and lost everything. I will save this for another full-length video because there's a lot to dissect here, but this just adds to that tension that is building for her character this season. She sacrificed nearly everything to win this battle, and hopefully for the Dany stans out there, the North remembers that. I believe that if she budges a little bit on her position of Northern independence, this tension will quickly fade, but this is Game of Thrones after all. The next portion of the battle is the siege of Winterfell, which starts in the trenches. Dany was supposed to light the trenches with dragonfire, but the fog of war made Davos signaling this command impossible. Luckily for us, the Red Woman showed up, and the Lord of Light blessed them with flame once again. The trenches light, and the army of the dead stop advancing altogether. I adored this scene. Seeing them stand along the fire, the hive mind understanding and making plays made it feel like it wasn't just a zombie horror movie. When they showed the horde standing there, sending a single wight into the flame one at a time, I initially thought that they were actually just testing it out, like they were going to wait out the fire. Like it was just a flex to show how many they had, that they could sacrifice one wight per second just to check if the flame was still burning and go from there. However, undead bridges work as well. We return to the crypts and get this line from Missandei.
Your divided loyalties would become a problem.
Yes. Without the Dragon Queen, there'd be no problem at all. We'd all be dead already.
She's right. Dany is the entire reason that they have a chance at all. I mean, this episode is all about everyone coming together, everyone playing their part. If every single thing didn't happen in the way it did, then yeah, I mean, Dany's a major part, but so is Jon, Sansa, Tyrion, everyone. And that's also important. Potentially the more important thing about this line, however, is that Sansa is now being challenged by others that believe in Dany, showing Sansa that she too is loved by her people, similar to when Theon returned and showed love for Sansa in front of Dany. To better reinforce that that tension is a very real thing, Sansa demands that her and Tyrion couldn't work out because of his split loyalties, not because they wouldn't be a good couple, power couple in my opinion. Her word choice is imperative. It means that Sansa views Dany's goals as being different from her own, even though they fight the same battle right now. I can't really blame Sansa for this though, because Dany last episode very clearly stated that she's fighting Jon's war, instead of her war, instead of their war. With everything that happened this episode, I think we're a little further away from bad guy Dany, but you never know. I mean, mentally, she's in a bind. She's lost more than most here, and if the North doesn't view her claim to the throne as legitimate, or Bran declares publicly that Jon's the real ruler, I mean, who knows how she's going to react to that. Whites eventually make it over the wall and invade the courtyard. Arya uses her badass weapon, which is a double-sided staff that also splits into two medium-sized swords. Clegane freezes up and only unfreezes when he sees Arya needing help, which is a touching moment that I'm glad that we got, showing the bond that these two actually have. He defends those that need help. He's a good guy. He's just tortured. An undead giant breaches the gate, and Lyanna Mormont uses her remaining moments to take down the last of the giants that we see. The rest were either killed off-screen or little tiny animated figures that we see here. I'm so relieved that she didn't have an off-screen death. The showrunners describe how she was meant to be a single-shot character, showing up only when Jon Snow sought her help the first time. But because of how badass this actress was, no one would have been happy if, we just heard about her death. Next, we need to discuss the aerial battle of the century. The fantasy dogfighting that was spectacular. I mean, seeing shots of the moon highlighting the clouds or the snow here as the blizzard is incoming. Stunning. Made me want a dozen more aerial battles just like this. I mean, pure art. Bravo. Also consider that all of these dragons fighting each other were siblings at one point. In some kind of way, this is kind of like Dragon Clegane Bowl, seeing an undead dragon versus, his brother. I thought that the way that they incorporated the cloud coverage was perfect. The chaos of them running into each other on, unexperienced riders. I also want to say that I don't know if we actually needed to see Dany and Jon riding these dragons. How much of an impact did they have up there controlling these beasts as opposed to just letting them fight each other? But who knows? We come back to Arya indoors, and she meets up with Clegane and Beric, who ultimately gives his life to keep her safe. All of the stories about the Lord of Light bringing him back and, how he served a purpose, how Jon served a purpose that, really no one knew. All of this leading to him being in this exact place in this exact moment. Similar to how Bran keeps telling everybody that everything that they've done has led to this exact moment. This kind of foresight into what happens is really interesting, documented again when the Red Woman tells Arya that the eyes that she sees her closing forever of different colors all the way back in Season 3 was actually leading to this moment. Arya was always meant to kill the Night King. Beric was always meant to get her to safety here. A lot of this show has been building other characters as these prophesized heroes, the prince who was promised, the princess that was promised, all just roles that needed to be played until Arya ultimately shoved the dagger into the Night King's chest. Just like Leaf did to create him, she destroyed him under a weirwood tree, shoving a dagger into his heart. I'm really glad that it was her. I'm really glad that it was this poetic. It makes me worry that, other poetic deaths are certainly in the works, such as Bronn and his trusty crossbow. But yeah, I'm glad it was Arya who killed him. She was the one who defeated the Night King. She saved literally every remaining life in Winterfell, if not the entire world. I've definitely seen some, maybe justified backlash that we didn't get a final battle between Jon and the Night King. While this would have been cool, it's not the story, so, we shouldn't cry over it too much. Yeah, sure, they did a considerable amount of build-up about Jon being the one who stops this unrelenting force, but he played his part to make that happen. He is the uniter of people, bringing wildlings south and dragons north, uniting royal Lannisters to defend the north. He may not be the one wielding the dagger, but to say his role wasn't vastly important would be a misrepresentation of what actually happened. Everyone had a role to play. That was the point. And now, let me backtrack a little bit. Right before the Night King's death, Theon goes down, defending Bran, thanking him for the life that he's lived to get to this point, thanking him for the death that he's about to experience. Little did he know all he had to do was wait 30 seconds. Joking. What's interesting about this dagger as well is that Bran gave her this back in Season 7, citing that she would need it. Lo and behold, she needs it right in the exact moment under that exact weirwood tree. The death of the Night King, of course, triggered the death of everything controlled by him, saving our dearly beloved Jon from a face full of dragonfire. I would have liked to see Ghost reappear here. I've always wanted this off-screen time of Ghost to be explained by Ghost and Nymeria being a thing this whole time, and in the last second before he's about to be eaten by a dragon, the wolves just tunnel in and save Jon. This would have been the perfect moment to incorporate him back into the mix, but sadly, it didn't happen, so oh well. Jorah goes down like we discussed, and Dany probably lost the person who has loved her more than anyone else has ever loved her. Her face turning to uncontrollable sobbing. This was so very well done. It showed how much of a blow this was to her. And I pray that once she finds out, that she really doesn't have an army left, that the people note her deeds in battle and don't continue this tension, that just kill Cersei. Just everyone unite and kill Cersei. Damn it. Lastly, the scenes with Jaime and Brienne all but solidify the power couple of the century. They are badass. Too bad I think that one of them will probably die very soon. Please just have sex and have Lannister babies that are raised by Uncle Tyrion, please. And with that, we come to the end of the video. Not too much to discuss, I think. The battle-heavy episodes, there's really not much theory crafting that can be done, though I will be making additional non-Torment Drinking Milk for 1-hour discussion videos, possibly to discuss the direction I think Dany will be heading, possibly about the Night King overall or Bran storylines. I don't know, comment below what you would like to see the most, anything that you want elaborated on or maybe researched further, and I'll get to work. Thank you so much for subscribing. You're all amazing. Big shout out to the highest tier donors this month, Chris Cole and Michael Link. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to subscribe for more just like it very soon. Much love, everybody. Thank you so much once again, and I can't wait to talk to you all again shortly.